wanted the best? You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends. We really appreciate you guys coming by. Thanks for being here and tuning in. As always, you guys are the most amazing audience in the world. So brilliant, so smart. That's because you've been listening to the Chris Voss Show for 14 years and 1,400 episodes. And we're putting out 2 to 3 new podcast episodes a day. We're just getting flooded with all the big publishing companies and everything we're doing. So if you're not referring the show to your family, friends, or relatives, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, and linkedin.com/Chris Voss. Subscribe to the big LinkedIn newsletter, the 130,000 LinkedIn group, and all of our different things. So we're trying to be cool on TikTok. So give us some help out there because we're old, man, and TikTok doesn't get us. They're just like, who are you people? What are you doing? We've got some amazing thinking and mind. Notice I only use the word one mind because we all know all the smart guests on the show are the brilliant ones, and I'm just the dumb one. But Karen Brown joins us on the show today. She's the brilliant mind. Notice there's only one. It's not plural. Who's going to be joining us on the show today? She is the CEO of Exponential Results. She is the founder and CEO of the company, and she draws on over 30 years of experience as a corporate executive with over 20,000 hours of senior executive coaching experience. Her coaching methods are based on neuroscience, which I could probably use some neuroscience now, allowing her to reach the subconscious and and unconscious. I want to say unsubconscious. That's what getting me there.
Let's go with that. Unsubconscious.
The unsubconscious. Did I just invent a new word, a paradigm?
You did.
I don't know. My psychologist says I need to work on my unsubconscious and get a frontal lobotomy, but that's another story for another time. And the unconscious mind of her clients, where negative patterns are formed. Clearly, I have some of those, and where real change can occur. She is a focused athlete, having completed as an amateur in the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii and numerous endurance events around the world. Karen is the author of Unlimiting Your Beliefs, 7 Keys to Greater Success in Your Personal and Professional Life. Welcome to the show, Karen. How are you?
I am fabulous. Thank you.
Fabulous, darling. Fabulous. Wonderful to have you on the show. We're having some fun with that, with the old BBC there. So give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs, please.
Your exponentialresults.com. That's spelled YOUR, like you, your exponentialresults.com.
There you go. And your book was entitled Unlimiting Your Beliefs, 7 Keys to Greater Success in Your Personal and Professional Life, told through my journey to the toughest race in the world. That's mine as in yours, not mine as in mine. January 9th, 2018. So welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about like your origin story. What got you here and got you into doing all these hard events, like doing doing these tough events? Like what did you do? You're just like, hey, I really want to go
doing these tough events just for fun.
Yeah. Wait, you don't get paid for this?
Oh no, my friend. I got to pay money to do them.
Yeah. And you accepted that? You went, hey, this seems like a good idea at the time. So what motivated you want to do all that?
It's actually a great story. So when I was 14 years of age, I was flipping through the channels on the TV, and I saw the coverage of the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what an Ironman was. I didn't even know what a triathlon was. And I was stopped dead in my tracks because of the drama that I saw unfolding. This was the year of Julie Moss and Kathleen McCartney, which is a famous rivalry. Mm. And it truly was a big drama that unfolded. And right before my eyes was sort of this train wreck that I could not look away from. I literally couldn't tear myself away from it.
Hmm.
And I wondered why, because I literally didn't know what was going on. And I sat down on the couch, and over the next few minutes, these big emotions began to well up inside me, and I
Mhm.
started to tear up.
Wow.
And what I realized was I started looking at that and comparing myself to it and thinking, what if I have inside me what it takes to do that?
Wow.
And I'm not tapping into it.
Hmm.
I'm just living this small, safe life. That's exactly what I was doing. Even though I was really successful, I had
Hmm.
all the outer trappings of success, but I knew in my heart of hearts that I was only doing things that I knew I could achieve.
Oh.
Now, all of a sudden, here was this behemoth, monster, humongous thing,
Hmm.
caused me to want to vomit anytime I thought about it because I didn't have any earthly idea how anyone could do it.
Yeah.
Uh, Keep in mind, so Ironman World Championships is a 2.4-mile swim in the ocean,
Hmm.
112-mile road bike, followed by a 26.2-mile marathon.
Hmm.
You have 17 hours to complete the race. And it's in really difficult conditions, high heat, humidity, crosswinds. You have everything against you in
I
this
can't
race.
do this in my at my gym or in the living room with the walking thing, whatever.
The treadmill.
Treadmill, yeah. You can tell I don't exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, but the thing was, uh, you, I had up to this point, I had never run a marathon. I was primarily a recreational runner,
Hmm.
and I had never even ridden a road bike. I was a mountain biker.
Oh, wow.
But I all of a sudden, from watching this and connecting to it in the deep way that I did,
Hmm.
I wanted to do it
Hmm.
because I felt this innate sense of, okay, I have to do that to see what I'm capable of.
Oh, wow.
All of us have enormous, infinite potential.
Hmm.
And this will be my way to tap into that and to
Wow.
really learn what I'm capable of.
Was there something in your past, or did you just kind of realize that maybe you need to push your boundaries to a new level?
Yeah, I would say massively expanding my comfort zone is what
Hmm.
we're talking about. Yeah,
Definitely.
because like I said, I was just doing things that I knew I could. I was
Hmm.
calling them challenges to other people, but
Hmm.
I knew I could accomplish them, whether they were in my personal life or at work or athletically or whatever. Uh, yeah, and so what I really did need was something this huge to break me out of my comfort zone,
Hmm.
do something completely new and different, that also caused me to open up in a big way to see what else I might be capable of.
Wow. And that definitely explore, maybe some self-limiting beliefs or something you were self-limiting in your life.
Yeah. So limiting beliefs are a real thing.
Hmm.
They're scientifically proven. And uh, about 30 years after I saw the world championships on TV,
Hmm.
because I still hadn't pursued training for it yet,
Hmm.
I was in a class and we were studying neuroscience and specifically how our brains establish limiting beliefs. And it really just is a leftover sort of bug in our operating system from caveman times, which is our subconscious mind trying to keep us safe and alive. So when we're faced with anything new, different, maybe even scary, maybe
Hmm.
even dangerous, our subconscious mind jumps in immediately and goes, no, 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 you're not going to be able to do that. You shouldn't do that.
You shouldn't be doing that. Stop doing
Right.
that. There you go.
Right. And believe me, there were plenty of people later that said, no, 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 Karen, you should not be doing the Ironman.
So, and imagine there's a lot of training that has to go in for that, right?
A shit ton, man.
Like I just couldn't get up and do it, right?
Oh, no. I trained for 2 years
Two
to be able to do
years.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
About 25 hours a week over
Uh-huh.
2 years.
And how much you get paid for this again? No, I'm just kidding.
Zero. Yeah. Remember, I got to pay for the privilege
Wow.
of doing it.
Wow. I need to charge. I need to figure out. I need to start something called Iron Man potato chips or something, and
Yeah.
and she doesn't beer or something. I don't know. So, had you started your own company, your consulting firm at that time? Were you just looking to branch out, or was this something that maybe took you out of your corporate world and made you want to start your own company?
Yes and yes. So
Okay.
actually, no and yes. I had not started my company at that time. And it definitely did cause me to want to pioneer what I learned
Hmm.
in this endeavor and my previous years in corporate leadership and also then executive leadership coaching to
Hmm.
bring it all together and to work with clients on developing their leadership through the use of neuroscience and specifically behavioral patterns. Because
Hmm.
remember, limiting beliefs is nothing more than a behavioral pattern.
There you go. There you go. So, when you work with executives and stuff, what do you find the biggest thing that's tripping them up? What do you find is the biggest thing that they're usually challenged by?
Behavioral blind spots.
Scotomas, I think some people call them. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glaucoma, scotomas.
Scotomas. I can't remember who came up with that term. I think it might have been Tony Robbins or something, but scotoma is blind spots where you can't see because of your belief systems, right?
Correct.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah. So blind spots are unrecognized weaknesses or threats
Hmm.
that can hinder you.
Hmm.
And so when we work with executive leaders, what we're doing is simply shining a light on their behavioral patterns that are blind spots, those behavioral patterns that they aren't aware of consciously, but they've been running over years, usually, because at one point it caused them to rise to success.
Hmm.
And that's the way a lot of blind spots or behavioral patterns work. They work for a long time
Hmm.
and they help propel you up to a certain level, but they won't propel you to levels above that, like reaching higher, elevating. They won't get you there. So you literally have to um, come into contact with them, see them for what they are, look at what the results you're getting from them is, and then establish new ones and run those instead if you want to elevate your performance.
There you go. And it's interesting to me with scotomas. With my business, I was always worried about the one thing that we hadn't identified or look for. It's the lion sneaking up to you from behind you.
Mhm.
And since you believe that, well, things work this way, business is constantly changing too as well. So you've got to adapt for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the types of leadership that worked 10 years ago even
Yeah.
is ineffective today. And dare I say that executive leaders that aren't looking at their blind spots or their behavioral blind spots, working in their behavioral patterns, they're not going to make it. They're not going to be able to adapt quickly enough to stay ahead of the market.
Yeah. What are some classic ones that you find that executives engage in that they need to overcome? Is there any consistent ones that maybe they're not paying attention to new trends or new changes in the market?
No, those would be more conscious
Hmm.
or strategic blind spots, Chris.
Hmm.
What we're talking about is behavioral blind spots.
Okay.
So the big easy ones to identify, although every executive leader has their own unique ones.
Hmm.
Because even though all of our brains work exactly the same way, no two people have the same exact blind spots.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah. So some quick, easy examples are not showing appreciation,
Ah.
not admitting when you're wrong.
Wait, I'm supposed to admit when I'm wrong? Wait,
What? You're never wrong.
I'm never wrong. Wait, is that ironic?
Right. Um, Not truly listening to people.
What?
I mean, yeah, right. We all know those people that you can tell they're not really listening to what you're saying. They're just waiting for you to finish so that they can give you their solution, their answer.
Mm.
Right. So, not truly listening.
That sounds like my
Uh,
whole podcast. No, I'm just kidding. I've been doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then behavior is the thing that really develops us, and leadership is so complicated. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. People are just like, I don't know, they give me a title, and I just rule over everybody now. It's like, no, it's a little bit more complicated, that isn't it?
It's a lot more complicated, complex, I would say, than that.
Yeah.
But the good news is leaders are not born. They are
Mm,
made.
mm,
Leaders are not born, they are made. And as long as you apply enough aptitude and you really learn and do the work, you can be a great leader.
mhm.
Yeah.
But even then, you can have behaviors like you say that you don't see or that maybe are hindering you. You know, like
Sure.
I remember one. I don't know if this counts as a behavior, but I know that Mario Kumo, when he got got some sexual harassment charges there, we found out he was going around hugging everybody and being a little too handshaky. And I was like, dude, after Me Too, like, what you're running around hugging people still? Like, what the hell is going on? I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that counts for what you're talking about, but
It
yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
does. That's a
yeah,
great example, an extreme
yeah,
example of a behavioral
yeah.
blind spot.
You're like, what are you doing? Some of
Yeah.
the CEOs that I see, I'm just shocked. We used to write people up for sexual harassment for our companies in the 90s. And yet you see, like, I would think the CEO of CNN has an affair with somebody at the office. McDonald's had one of those. And I think there was somebody else recently in another place. And you're just like, what are you guys doing, eh? Like, have there's different ways of dealing with stuff. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of leaders, maybe these days, especially, have to focus a little bit more on empathy. It seems like the workplace has really kind of changed, and there's microaggressions now, and diversity things, and so you've really got to take a look at a lot of your behavior, or maybe some of your biases.
Yeah, you know what this really points to,
Mhm,
which is the number one factor in what we call authentic leadership, which is the
mhm,
most effective form, current form, modern form of leadership.
mhm.
Uh, and that it points to the number one element or factor that you have to be a great authentic leader, which is self awareness.
I
Ah,
have to be self-aware
surprise,
too.
no
I just can't
surprise.
wander around doing whatever I want. Oh,
Right?
wow.
Well, the
Yeah.
examples that you just gave show that those people are not self-aware,
Yeah.
because self-awareness says that you are aware of your own behavior and the impact on others. Well, those people are blind. They have no
Yeah.
awareness of their behavior and impact on others.
Yeah, or just, I don't know. Is sometimes they just think maybe they're above the law, or above the whatever the constraint is. There's like a narcissistic sort of, I'm above the law, as South Park. Uh is that maybe some of it that plays into it, that maybe they think they're
Sure. Or
immune
they
to
could be
it?
in a powerful, prestigious position where they
Narcissist.
feel like they're beyond reproach. Sure,
Mhm.
that could be
Yeah.
it too. But when you boil it all down to its simplest form,
Mhm.
it is a lack of self-awareness.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I can see how that can be a huge blind spot, because you're just kind of operating on autopilot. Maybe what you've done, you've always done, but society changes, rules in offices change. We've seen a lot of growth of the diversity stuff. There's a lot of different issues, being more uh, empathetic towards race, diversity, et cetera, et cetera. And every now and then you'll see some executives stick their foot in their mouth and say something on TV or something, and it's like, well, there goes that job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The other thing that it has to do with is relational transparency.
Hmm.
What
Tell us
you were
about
just
that.
talking about, DEI,
Hmm.
hello,
Hmm.
how you're in relationship with other people,
Hmm.
other groups, right?
Ah,
What we work on for the behavioral patterns that deal with that is something called relationship intelligence quotient.
ah,
So think EQ, the
mm.
next evolution of it, and the acronym is RQ for short.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's tell us more about the relationship thing. Help me understand that, because I evidently have a blind spot on that.
Let me just say, I'm relieved that you're still on this show and that you haven't been shown the door because, you felt somebody up or something like that.
I
Because
I
you
would
were
never do
so
that.
relationally transparent.
No, like I said,
Um,
I was doing the sexual harassment write-ups for employees in the '90s, man. When that thing hit, I was the CEO. It's like, hey, we gotta, you gotta deal with this stuff, or else it gets out of hand. But so I don't know, man. I would never do that. I mean, I don't even hug people. I don't even touch people. I don't get near them. I'm like,
yeah,
stay over there, employees, and
right.
stay away from me.
Yeah.
So, but EQ, now that's not emotional quotient, right? Or is it?
EQ is emotional intelligence quotient.
Okay.
So RQ is
Hmm.
relational intelligence quotient.
Hmm.
And what relational transparency is understanding how you interact with others
Oh,
and
okay.
the dynamics that ensue. And
Hmm.
let's think about this in a work context. Okay. You're a leader, you're trying to get things done. You and your team are trying to get things done. Well, everybody goes about getting things done in a slightly different way.
Hmm.
This is called your motivational value system.
I thought
And
those are
it,
called my bad employees.
well, that could be too.
Could be too. Yeah.
uh, good and bad, and everybody in between.
Wait, there's good
Um,
employees? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Don't you have any?
No. I've
Oh,
seen them all, and they've seen
well,
me.
that's a different kind of problem,
That's
Chris.
probably, yeah, that's
That's
probably
another show.
that's probably still my problem.
uh, okay, so how this works is we are able to scientifically map out every team member's um, relationship interaction patterns.
Mm.
So how if you and I and three other people were on a team, we would map out and put this up on the wall how we all interact with each other when we're trying to get things done at work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is truly revolutionary, even though the science on this has been around for 32 years.
Mhm.
But the reason it's revolutionary is because every time we put this in front of an executive team, they literally sit back in their chair and they go, holy shit, this is exactly what goes on.
Yeah.
How did you know this? And we go, it's easy. All we did was inventory your behavior, how you guys interact. It's actually very, very simple.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
And then
this
we
is
help them to see their behavioral blind spots,
uh-huh.
how to interact, collaborate, and even engage in healthy debate and productive conflict
Mm.
better.
There you go. So this is kinda like, individual business love language, maybe.
Right. Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Did I? Thought that was gonna be a sexual harassment thing, so I
I think once we use the word love, yeah, we're
yeah, it's
probably
probably don't wanna
setting
use that at
ourselves up.
work on that one, but, it's
Yeah.
a good analogy. Um,
Mhm.
so you understand, I learned a long time ago that you can't treat all your employees the same. There's different people that can produce better or produce differently, and you've got to approach them better, motivate them different. You can't motivate everybody the same way, just
Yeah.
getting up and doing rah-rah speeches. Um, we were talking on the show recently, and I need to come up with a better word for it because obviously things have changed. But I used to use it calling touching employees. And we were talking about remote work, and boy, that just sounds bad when I say it. But to me,
It
I
sounds
gotta
sort of
I gotta find a
pedophile-ish.
better yeah I gotta find a better word for it because things have changed since the '90s.
Yeah.
But when we had our major companies, I to me, going around and meeting with each individual employee and motivating them and touching base with them, that's really what the touching is, touching base with them, checking in with them and going, hey man, how's it going today? Making them feel like a human being, making them feel like I cared because I didn't. And and just having that interaction thing. And I think we were having this conversation a couple weeks ago with an author over remote work and how hard it is for leadership to be able to touch base with employees across the Zoom meeting because there's a little infection. It's harder to kind of infect people with your enthusiasm, your motivation, and being able to get them jived up to work hard, and of course sharing vision, selling vision to people. And so I used to like that because I'd have to go around my salespeople, and my salespeople would have different issues. Sometimes maybe they're getting divorced and they got some sort of home thing that's going on. It's screwing up their sales, and they need me to play psychologist and work it out. But that's one thing I used to like before remote work was being able to touch base with employees. And basically, I call it a personalized touch, but obviously I can't use that word anymore. I'm going to come up with something better. Do you have any ideas?
Wow. Yeah. So the modern term is connecting.
Connecting.
See,
I
not
have
to
a
take
scotoma,
anything away from
you just solved my
touching and infecting.
I want to infect my
Were STIs a part of your organization at some point?
This is the 90s, eh? We just had alcohol, cocaine, and I don't know whatever else the hell was going on in the office. But it was pretty much like what was that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street? That's kind of how it was. Yeah, that was the sales team. So
with some touching and infecting added in.
You know what? There was some of that going on between the better looking employees, but on the copy or whatever. I don't know what that means.
Okay,
but,
so it is connecting.
It's
and
connecting.
This circles back around to authentic leadership. You are able to. And I'm not even going to make any jokes about circling back around.
HR
okay?
is sending me a beep right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
No,
so are some others probably.
Probably.
Okay, so authentic leadership, and I'm going to get this out before I crack up because it's absolutely true. Authentic leadership is sharing yourself in whole and authentically with team members.
Is that when I come to the office in my robe or half naked, wearing shorts?
That's why I had to get it out with a straight face first.
You knew that. You knew you were setting me up for that.
Exactly.
Huh? I get it.
I was lobbing that in for you.
There you go. We should be a team, go on the road with a comedy
yeah.
bit. No, these are important because, like I said, I kind of have a little scotoma there. I don't even know what the hell they call it. But I do know I do know to stay the hell away from them. Although I don't know, being able to give someone a pat on the back or high five every now and then is cool. But I don't think that's even legal in corporate world anymore. I think you have to keep a 6-foot distance and just poke them with a stick or something. Wow, even that sounds bad.
Well, how about doing all of those things, connecting with them through your words?
Oh, words.
You are being authentic about yourself with them, and you're inviting them to do the same with you.
Mm-hmm. And because one thing I learned about a leader is if people feel that you care about them, if you have their best interests at heart, if you're trying to help them achieve their goals, and it's not so much about like, well, you need to make the company achieve their goals. People are like, what does that do for me? Huh? Lately? And so what are some of the other things you help corporate executives accomplish?
Well, hold on. Let's finish that thought.
Let's do that.
So when you care enough about team members and employees that you will examine your own behavior, you will get to know and understand your own behavior and your scotomas, your blind spots, and you will ask others for feedback, and you will learn their behavior, and you will actively give them helpful feedback that you're in it together.
Yeah. I learned some people's behavior and fired them too. So there's that.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's that.
They were stealing or, talking on the phone too much or something.
Yeah. But that means you're in relationship with them, right? Relationship transparency, relationship intelligence quotient.
This is kind of interesting because I never really thought about being in a relationship with my employees because, I think HR said it was a bad thing last time I did that. But I mean, I never really thought of that. And it's more of a long-term commitment sort of thing. And I'm not sure I'm up for that sort of commitment.
Well, hold on. Take the commitment out of it.
Oh, okay.
Because what it really is think about how you get things done at work.
We're supposed to get things done here?
Well, yeah, sometimes.
Hey, get to work over there, damn it.
Unless you are a one-man band, a one-person show, you have to get things done through others.
Yeah.
And it's the relationship you have with them that enables or dictates the level of work that you're going to be able to get done together.
There you go. So, tell us a little bit more about what you talk about in your book. Let's get a good plug in here for the book and some of the stuff you talk about. I know she got Brian Tracy, I think, to put a bit of her endorsement on there.
Brian Tracy's a friend. I didn't get him to do it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was like, you have a relationship quotient with him or something.
A relationship intelligence quotient with
There
him.
you go.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
All right. So what the premise of the book is that we all still struggle with limiting beliefs. Because like I said at the top of the show, limiting beliefs are nothing more than a leftover bug in our operating system, which is called our brain. Okay.
Mm,
They don't really serve us anymore. They just hold us back
mhm.
from doing things that are new or different or sometimes even dangerous, but not that often. Um, and so the book, which is told through my journey to the Ironman, which is one of the toughest races in the world, probably back then it was, that I sort of used my own story and myself as an example and a guinea pig,
Mhm.
right? Because I am a super nothing, not talented athlete. I have no natural, incredible ability in that department. I have to work my ass off for everything I do.
Mhm.
So I felt like I was a good sort of case study.
Mhm.
And doing something humongous like that, you run into limiting beliefs. Oh, I can't possibly compete against professional athletes. I'm just a recreational athlete. I haven't ever run a marathon before. I haven't ridden a road bike before. Those are all limiting beliefs,
Ah.
right?
Mhm.
So in the book, I teach you 3 steps. It's just as easy as that. 3 steps on how to unlimit your beliefs. And you can do it with any limiting beliefs. Works every single time. It's super easy because you know what? Our brains, what I often call our brains, is this very powerful yet simplistic machine.
Mhm.
It'll do anything that you tell it can do. And if you're subliminally telling it that it can't do something, then it's going to prove you right. It's going to go, yeah, we can't do that. And it's going to stop you.
Sounds like half my life. Can you can you tease out the 3 things? Or do you
Oh, yeah.
wanna do we
So
or do we
first of
wanna
all,
you gotta buy the
sure.
book.
Well, yes, you gotta buy the book.
Yeah, you gotta buy the book,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. Uh, yeah, it's 3 simple steps, honestly. Anybody and everybody can do it.
Mhm.
You're basically becoming aware of it, right?
Mm.
We talked about awareness.
Ah,
Uh, uh-huh.
the first step is admitting you have a issue. That's what they
Right.
tell me down at the methadone clinic. Methadone clinic?
Exactly. Woof. Skitomas, methadone, you're throwing them out today.
We got them all. We got them all. It's a full we had cocaine there earlier. So,
Yeah.
we got a full buffet.
Well, and don't forget the touching and the infecting.
Touching and affecting, it's a full contact show. It's a full contact show.
It is.
You mentioned earlier about, can I compete and beat, professional athletes? And I was like, you know how to do that. You just stick a stick between their legs or trip them, eh?
You stick a stick in their spokes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So now that I've interrupted you enough, how about can we get those 3 things there? I
Oh,
think we got
sure.
the first one, right?
So first one is become aware
Mhm.
of the limiting beliefs that you're running. You do that by thinking about whatever it is you want to pursue.
Mhm.
Ironman, infecting people, whatever it is. And make a list of all of the limiting thoughts that come up in your head.
Oh.
Just off the top of your head onto the page. I can't compete. I'm not a road biker. I've never run a marathon. I'm a terrible swimmer. Those were some of mine. So just jot those down, left hand margin on a page.
I like
Okay.
that, writing those down so that you have them. You can look at them. I mean, trying
Oh
to
yeah.
battle them in your head is especially when you have 8 personalities like I do, is hard, but I like that.
Hmm. Yeah. So become aware of them, jot them down.
Mhm.
And be aware that there's probably going to be more than one. There might be a leading one,
Mhm.
but then stay with it and keep asking yourself that question and diving into pursuing whatever it is you're thinking of, and more will come out. Okay. And
Mhm.
it's important, like you said, to get them all out of your head
Mhm.
onto the page. Okay. So you can see them. Then take each one and write the opposite of the limiting belief.
Mm.
So for me, my limiting belief was I can't possibly compete against pro athletes in the Ironman.
Mhm.
The opposite of that is the unlimiting belief, which for me was I will compete in the Ironman World Championships.
Yeah. Mine would have
Okay.
been I'll just trip him.
Right. Okay. So write out the opposite unlimiting belief for each one.
So you changed
Uh-huh.
the paradigm of.
Yep. Then carry this with you. Take a picture of it on your phone, carry it with you, whatever you have to do. Then when you notice yourself thinking that limiting belief,
Mhm.
interrupt it and
Ah,
then say out loud the unlimiting version of that belief. So
there you
literally, I would stop myself during the day. I was a CEO of a major real estate office at the time. Yes, I got some funny looks. It's okay. I would stop myself dead in my tracks and go, all right, stop. And then I'd go, I will compete in the Ironman World Championships.
Mhm.
And then I would go on. So I would do this multiple times a day. And 2 short years later, after I started pursuing this dream, I crossed the finish line in Hawaii.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
awesome.
And
it's
remember, I'm nothing special.
yeah. Well, I mean, you are actually. I mean, everyone's a special person in their own right. My mom said I was special when she put me in the short bus when I was a kid, but that's a different joke. But how many hours did you say the Ironman takes?
Well, they give you 17 to finish,
Mhm.
and it took me 15 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow. That is crazy. That's basically exercising for 14 hours?
16. Thank you.
16 hours. 16 hours.
16. Yeah.
That's a lot of exercise. Like
Yeah.
I'm usually tired on the treadmill after like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I probably need to train a little bit more if I'm going to do the Ironman. So how did it feel? Tell us about how it felt for people that maybe are interested in trying to expand their limits and their boundaries and stuff. What did it feel when you find, you work so hard, you go through 2 years of blood, sweat, and tears. You get to the moment, you meet the moment. What's it like when you come out the other side of that, after all the puking and bloodletting and spitting up stuff and stuff? You- You're like, I can't feel my legs. What's
Mhm.
it like mentally when you finally go, I reached the pinnacle and I did it.
First of all, it was the most magnificent day ever.
Hmm.
Even though I was swimming, biking, and running, exercising for 16 hours straight, which you're probably thinking, how the hell could that be magnificent? But it was.
Yeah.
It was the realization of this humongous dream.
Hmm.
And so that whole day, every minute of it, even though I was toiling, was filled with enormous joy and just epiphany after epiphany that, everything that it took to get there, all of the connections that I made along the way, everything I learned, and that crossing the finish line, which I actually jumped over the finish line.
Really?
Oh yeah. Now I'm a white girl with no hops, but I leapt over the finish line,
Uh-huh.
jumped 4 feet in the air.
Uh-huh.
And this is after 16 hours of exercising.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how exuberant and filled with joy I was. I couldn't stop smiling. I was
Wow.
crying, running down Ali'i Drive from happiness.
That is awesome.
So yeah, it was the immediate and enormous realization of my potential and that
Mhm.
I had tapped into it.
Do you advise different executives to maybe do, or just anybody in their life, to try and push their boundaries, their limits, it does it have to be a really over the top goal, or like jumping out of airplanes or something, or can I just I don't know, eat an extra handful of Doritos today or something?
Well, I don't think an extra handful of Doritos is going to be challenging enough to get you there.
It's hard. You have to reach over, and then sometimes you have to go to the place for the bag and stuff.
Go to the store. I know. Oh, it's tough. Yeah. What I
I'm
suggest,
not making Iron Man
it's
anytime
really
soon,
easy to get
Alex.
off track on this show.
Yeah, so I'm sorry.
What I suggest is do something big enough or take on something big enough that you really don't know how you're going to do it.
There you go.
And maybe it makes you feel like you're going to vomit, break out in a cold sweat.
Mhm.
That is good. That is a good sign, because if none of those things happen, the dream probably isn't big enough.
Maybe you need to be, self-aware that you kind of feel yourself freaking out a little bit, like, whoa, this is like too big for us. And I think sometimes in psychology or maybe motivational books, this is called stretching, where you're kind of stretching yourself, right?
Yeah.
Stretching your ability. And when you find that you stretch, you find that you have a wider aperture of what you can achieve, accomplish, and maybe an expanding of your mind.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. Yes.
Yeah.
I call it expanding your comfort zone.
There you go.
And in the book, I open with an analogy that often we think we have to get outside of our comfort zone
Hmm.
to do really big things.
Hmm.
Well, I disagree with that. I don't think there's really any, scientific proof that shows how we can get outside our comfort zone to do big things. It's in expanding our comfort zone that we do big things, and that your comfort zone is actually like an infinitely expandable rubber band
Mm.
that never snaps back. It
Mhm.
just keeps expanding bigger and bigger and bigger.
Is there ever a point where you can not have any blind spots as an executive or as a human being? Is there a way you can master it all? Or is the world just going to constantly change, or you're going to constantly change, or business environment's going to constantly change, where you just have to keep trying to adapt and move with it?
That's a great question, Chris.
Yeah.
The truth is, yes, you'll always have blind spots,
Damn
but
it.
as you grow and expand and elevate, there are
Mhm.
fewer of them and they're less pronounced.
There you go. Because I'm tired
Yeah.
of trying to work to be a leader. I just like to get it over with. I mean, I just want to arrive and be like, okay, I know everything now, which is
Uh,
which is. I mean, I've thought I've known everything for the past 55 years. So,
right.
clearly, the more I know, the more I don't know, which is,
Yeah.
yeah, that's always disturbing.
Yeah.
Um, leadership is such a big challenge for people, and I think a lot of people don't understand that they're leaders sometimes, no matter where they are. I've had some people say, "Well, I'm not. I'm just a manager here. I'm not the real leader. The leader's the CEO guy. I just kind of hang out here and move the papers around." And people don't realize there's all sorts of different places where you can be a leader. A parent is a leader. Um,
Mhm.
at least they are until the kids are teenagers, and then that switches on the game. But
See,
being
in my estimation, in my viewpoint, everyone is leading themselves.
there, you go. I like that.
Yeah. So
I
whether
like
you're a
that.
parent, you're a child, you're a student, you're a manager, you're a bank teller, doesn't matter. You are leading yourself,
Hmm.
right?
So you just own it and roll with it. Are there people that aren't leading themselves? I think I've seen those. Are they politicians? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, oof, ooh,
I
boy.
threw
Ooh.
threw some shade there at the
Oh,
politicians right there.
yeah.
They're an easy crowd to pick on. So
Sure. There are plenty of people who are not leading themselves. And the way I like to look at that is that they're just not self-aware. They're not,
ah.
they're asleep.
Mhm. So we've come
Okay.
back to the whole self-awareness thing, and that
Yeah.
that does explain some of the people I see in life that kind of sleepwalk through life, and they accept whatever social norms are given them or social programming. Uh, so how do you know if you're self-aware or not? See what I did there? Yeah,
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
I would ask for feedback
There you go.
from people that work with you a lot.
Uh,
Ask them for unvarnished, honest feedback,
yeah.
and then have a neutral third party like us look at that feedback with you.
There you go.
Maybe we'll even do a relational or an RQ inventory of
Mhm.
your behavior,
Yeah.
because another cool application for that is that we can literally pinpoint the behavior that you feel like you exhibit versus the behavior that others experience from you.
Ah.
Yeah.
Now, do you have to
That
do like
shows
a
the blind spots
Uh-huh. Do you have to
very
do
well.
like an anonymous survey sort of thing so that I can't fire those people because I just want to? Retaliatory firing, that's one of my favorite things.
Oh, right.
Don't do
Yeah.
that, people.
It,
Don't
it
do that.
goes it goes right along with touching and infecting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we did one of those surveys once to my employees, and it was basically a description of my behavior was lots of 4-letter words, and he smells bad. Which there's only
That's the
one.
most interesting 360 I've ever heard
Have
of.
you ever had that? You ever had somebody come back and go, like, "Hey, the boss smells bad. Needs some cologne and maybe bathe once in a while." But,
It is a version of a 360, but it is anonymous.
there you
Yes.
go. There
Yeah.
you go. And I imagine is it hard for executives or CEOs to get that kind of feedback or,
Yeah.
um, yeah. And
Yes, because of what you just talked about.
mhm,
Everybody fears their job.
yeah,
Oh, if I tell you you smell, if I tell you you suck, well, you're probably going to fire me.
yeah. Well, the
Well,
nice thing is I
no.
know I smell, so it's no surprise.
Okay.
It's like when the people comment on YouTube and they go, "You're fat." I'm like, "Oh, thanks for telling me something I didn't know. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for being the epiphany angel in my life." But I think this is important. One of the things I talked about in my book, Beacons of Leadership, I put forth that a leader is like a lighthouse, and he sends forth a beacon, and there's a communication of what you're talking about through your behavior and how you communicate with people, and basically what sort of light you send forth that people interpret and look to as a leader and go, do I want to follow this idiot or not? uh but being able to understand what that behavior is and being able to have that self-awareness and feedback, I think is really important, because if you don't, I mean, you're just and a lot of leaders do that. They're just narcissistically PRing into the wind. Like, one
Mm.
of the examples I love to use is, he's maybe stealing from the company, and in the meantime he's telling everybody we should be a trustworthy corporation and honest, and they send out these PR notices, and people reading the PR notices, employees or vendors or whatever, and they're like, "You don't live your values, eh?
Mhm.
You're like totally in conflict. You're full of shit," as George
Uh-huh.
Carlin would say. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the other way that we do that, because your point is right on the spot, right on target. The other way that we get at that is sometimes we'll do the interviewing one-on-one
mm,
to garner the feedback for the CEO.
hmm,
And we have to say to the team members, hey, we are not going to share any of the specifics that you share with us about the CEO. So you can say he's a total a-hole. We're not going to use that with him. We're just going to distill everything that's given to us down to the behavioral blind spots that
hmm.
they equate to.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Getting feedback is a challenging thing, and it can be, you're like, well, you think to yourself, well, what if they say really bad stuff about me, or they really don't like something? I spoke to a friend who watches the show regularly, and he made some fun comments of a guest we had on, and I think that I saw how maybe the guest could have done a better job, so I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, what did you think of that show? What did you think of that guest?" And I remember thinking in my brain, see, I'm self-aware, eh? A little bit,
Uh-huh.
at least in this space. And I thought in my brain, I'm like, God, what if he tells me this show is complete garbage? And maybe it's me who's the problem, and whatever. And but I had that thought that went through my brain, but I still sat down with him, and he had some great tips. And actually, I think they liked the guests more than maybe I thought how the interview went. Um,
Mhm.
and so it's scary. It's scary to do that and get that feedback. But this is the only way you can improve, right? It's kind of like what you did with the Iron Man thing. It's scary to go up against that big goal and all that stuff, and sometimes you can dread it, but you just got to go for it. And that's the only way you can really learn and improve, is to get that feedback.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you just keep walking around blind, then you're going to get the same results you always got.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
exactly.
not going to grow, you're not going to improve because you're not going to ever be um shown anything new.
Yeah. What's that old line that doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same results
Is insanity.
is insanity? Yeah.
Mhm.
Which my psychiatrist says I'm from. What have we touched on that you guys do at your company and how you help people?
What haven't we touched on?
Yeah. See, I use that touch word again. What the hell's going on?
Right, touching and infecting. I love that. I'm taking that away from this
Yeah.
show.
What haven't we what have you never mind, I'm not throwing that on your company. Anything more you want to tease out about how you guys do it and what you do over there?
Yeah, well, we actually can touch and infect everyone. So the way that works is we do enterprise-wide leadership development programs that are
There you go.
comprehensive,
Mhm.
soup to nuts. They include training and coaching and teamwork and RQ, interviews that we talked about, 360s, and all of it is customized
Mhm.
because no two companies are the same. As I said before, no two people or leaders have the same unique behavioral patterns or behavioral blind
Mm.
spots, right? So we've got to take all of that into account and meet the company where they're at, and then produce programs that will, fit what they have going on.
There you go. There you go.
Mhm.
I like that. Leaders are everywhere, and a company has to develop their leaders because you've got to, as the people rise through the ranks, these are your future CEOs, your future vice presidents, future people you're going to fire, and future people you're going to touch and affect. Don't do that, people. HR is in my ear right now. You've got to develop them because they're your replacement, especially if you're a CEO. I mean, that was one thing I learned early on as a CEO is, you eventually got to start turning things over to people. You got to start delegating, and maybe you don't want to be the CEO of your company. You want to move to some other things that you want to do, but you need to put somebody who's in a good leadership position who could lead well. And I've certainly, been guilty of putting in people that I thought would make great managers, usually good salespeople that we hadn't developed to be good leaders, and they made horrible managers.
Mhm.
And salespeople and managers kind of are two different sort of animals. I'm not sure if you can fully convert them. You know better than I would,
Yeah.
but it was always a challenge because they're just I think they're just two different modalities. But if you don't have good people you can put in different positions and let them lead, and I think a lot of people have leadership potential. Do they, or am I delusional? Do I have a schizometer?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people do have leadership potential. Remember what I said earlier, leadership is learned, not innate.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
but
Here,
it has a direct correlation to how effective of a leader are you going to be, directly correlates to how much self-awareness you're willing to cultivate, and
mhm,
then how much work you're willing to do to change your behavioral patterns.
mhm.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: but those behavioral patterns include communication?
Yes.
Like one of the things I was always try to be self-aware and was always struggling to was making sure that what I was communicating people are understanding. So like if you're telling somebody just a simple example, how to operate a piece of machinery. Okay, you go beep 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 boop boop, and that's how you make that work. And sometimes an employee would screw something up and I'd say, hey, what happened? They'd be like, well, you told me to do this. And I'm like, I did. And you'd have to try and figure out the best way to communicate to make sure that am I communicating my vision correctly, am I
Mhm.
instructing people correctly, am I motivating correctly. I just thought I was paranoid this time, but I guess I was trying to be self-aware.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
what you're talking about there is a couple of different things.
Mhm.
First of all, managers manage things. Managers manage tasks.
Mhm.
Leaders lead people.
I love this.
Yeah. So when you're telling, say, a manager how to run a machine, you are telling them how to do something. You're telling them how to manage tasks, right? When you're a leader leading people, what you're doing is setting expectations of the end result that you're looking for,
There you go.
and then saying, okay, that's the end result. Now figure out how to get it done.
There you go.
Doesn't matter to me how you get it done. I just want this to be the end result.
Mhm. And painting a good vision for them is really important as well.
You have to set clear expectations, and that's
Yeah.
something that we do find a lot as a behavioral blind spot, that either no expectations are set at all, It's just you go from a meeting where everybody says, oh, yeah, that's what we need to do. And somebody's going to do it, but they don't know who it is. And they don't know by when, much less anything more detailed about the expectations on what needs to be done or what the end result is. Or they're very vague. Very vague.
Or we just need to have more meetings.
Yeah, we just need 20% growth. Okay, 20% growth in what? By when? Measured how?
Yeah.
Right? Give them some more detail and then truly step out of their way. Have some milestone check-in meetings. Ask what the trajectory is. Maybe measure some data, track some results, see if you're on trajectory, if you're on course. If not, this is called performance management. Ask some questions, right? Hey, tell me what's attributing to where we are versus where we wanted to be at this point. Let them talk. See, the thing about authentic leadership that I think gets just glossed over a lot of times is the incredibly powerful use of asking good questions rather than assuming and telling. Oh, well, you're off course because we're missing the mark, and tell me what's going wrong. Where are you falling short? What? No, that's not going to be real effective with anybody. So you've got to ask really good questions, stay out of assumptions, and then get them to tell you what's going on. And then just help facilitate solutions for it. That is also your role as a leader. You are a facilitator. You do not need to be the smartest person in the room. You do not have to command and control, come up with every solution, every idea, and tell people what to do. That's the opposite of authentic leadership.
Yeah. I love this because when I'd read, I think it was called The Fifth Discipline back in the day. I'm an old 80s books reader and a lot of the Tom Peters. And I remember, I think it was the Fifth Discipline, and the book talked about trying to create a learning organization. And that was the thing I was always trying to do. And maybe the better language word is what you use, making a self-aware organization, because that way you kind of self-learn, really.
Yeah.
Sound right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as long as you give people the room to self-learn, because guess what? That's going to include making mistakes and failing, right? But there isn't one person I can talk to that wouldn't say they learned the most through making mistakes or failures.
There you go.
That is the way we learn the biggest lessons. We don't really learn much by having successes. In our subconscious brain, it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, that worked well. All right, on to the next thing. It doesn't even register.
And then sometimes that just kind of reinforces sometimes maybe a scotoma or bad behavior, because we're like, well, I'm succeeding. I make more money. They give me a bigger check this year. Clearly, whatever I'm doing is working.
Yeah.
You know? And then suddenly you've hugged people too much, and you're Governor Cuomo, and,
and you leave them with an infection.
And you leave them with an infection. You got to go.
Yeah.
You got to go, man. Well, I mean,
let me say this. The proof is in the pudding on all of this stuff. The several companies we've worked with doing, full comprehensive enterprise-wide leadership development programs. They had, the years that we did that, they had the best financial performing years of their entire company history.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking very mature, tenured companies, 55, 60, 70-year-old companies.
Wow.
Yeah. They were also voted some of the best places to work.
And that's important too, especially now when you're fighting for employees, because they're, it's a battle now out there for employees. Well, I don't know, they're laying off people right now, but I think it still is a battle. I mean, our employment market.
If you're in tech, it's not so much of a battle, but other sectors, yeah.
It's pretty crazy what's going on right now. But I can see how this could develop a learning organization. Do you ever, when you're doing this with companies, do you ever have, maybe that one or two employee or a couple employees like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to learn anything. Does that ever happen?
Sometimes, yes.
You got to give them a little prod and go, hey.
Cattle prod works really well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, electrified.
See, I was
Yeah.
just doing touching and affecting. You just went full cattle prod right
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Is that
Yeah.
can we run that by HR and see if that's legal? I think I might actually consider that in the 90s.
No, here's the really cool thing about how this actually works is people get curious. Those reticent ones, those resistant ones, they get curious. Number one, because everybody around them is using it.
Ah,
Yeah.
little
Everybody
peer
around them
pressure.
is using it. They are looking inward. They are becoming more self-aware. They're working on themselves. And quite frankly, they don't want to be left behind.
Mhm.
And second of all, the science interests them.
Ah,
And because they also know that they can hang their hat on it. It is
Mhm.
scientific. It's not conjecture or just, something that worked well for one person and probably won't work for everyone. But that's also why, we started using science over 10 years ago. That's why I pioneered this science into the executive leadership development space, because in my Ironman journey and after being in corporate for so many years and then being an executive coach, the two did not go together back then. Nobody was doing this. I mean, there were no Brene Brown, Simon Sinek, Daniel Pink, Adam Grants on the scene. They didn't exist. So I thought, the space is ripe for a game changer, for an exponential difference maker. And this is it, because the speed and volume processing power of our unconscious mind is more like a rocket ship compared to that of our conscious mind, which is like a skateboard.
There you go.
So, which would you rather ride, a rocket ship or a skateboard?
Well, it depends. Is there any Ironman working on this rocket ship ride where I have to
Ooh,
exercise? No.
right?
And you're right. This is science. It's basic brain neurology, and
Yeah.
our brains are kind of like little computers and how it works. So, would you say that it's better to do this, or should we just have more pizza parties to get the employees motivated? That's good in there. Like a big LinkedIn joke there. There you go. The fun one everyone's sticks around. Well, this has been a fun, insightful interview, and I've loved it because you've actually opened my mind to a few things, especially about how there's no more touching and affecting anymore. So I'm going to go face it, HR. But no, I always wanted to create a learning organization, and now I have a better word for it. I have being self-aware. I'm now self-aware that I have a better word for it. Oh, how's that work? So give me your .com so people can find you on the interwebs and learn more about your company and what you guys do there.
All right. Go to your exponential results.com. You can get in touch with me there. You can read up on everything we do. You can book an appointment. You can spend all day there if you want.
Okay, spend all day on the website. There you go. Reach out to you guys, and I imagine they can talk to you about different services you offer, et cetera, et cetera. It's been fun to have you on. I've learned a lot. In fact, this is probably one of my best learning experiences when it comes to business in a while, because it's actually made me think about a lot of things I did over the last 35 years, good and bad. There's that. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. This was a ball.
There you go. And thanks to my audience for tuning in. We couldn't do it without you. You guys are the smartest audience in the world. And if you've listened this far, you're damn far smarter than ever. So now go shine forth. Sign up for the Ironman if you want. How much does the Ironman pay again? Anyway, callback joke of the show. But learn to expand your minds and become more self-aware, really, because I'm tired of putting up with most of you who aren't. Quit sleepwalking through life, eh? But thank you for coming by the show, everyone. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss. This will be on the big LinkedIn newsletter and also TikTok. We're trying to be cool, and we're not because we're old, but we're going to try and make it work. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time.